Big round of applause for Brian Pash, everyone.
Thank you. All right, so I think we should be live here. Clicker. Good morning, everyone. That was really weak. Good morning, everyone. Is this like a Monday morning sales meeting? Everyone's a little tired. So we have some great things to talk to you about today. If you're not familiar with my company, I started in 2005. Over the years, have expanded our work to help the automotive dealers worldwide. So we do active consulting in Europe, Canada, US, Mexico, and, well, the countries continue to expand because we're trying to help dealers understand how to be more effective with their marketing dollars. And there's a lot of changes that are going on or disrupting the way we do business. The question is how are we going to know if where we're investing our money is profitable? I think I could be the most prolific author on automotive digital marketing and sales process. So I have 6 books, 7th one's coming out in November on digital retailing. Our previous speaker mentioned about the disruption that's going on ownership and purchase, and there's a lot of different opinions on what it means to have a digital retailing solution. Canada was a little ahead of even the US with the Genesis program. Moto Insight developed the Moto Commerce platform to allow consumers to purchase their Genesis right online. And now we're seeing Ford in the UK, for example, is rolling out direct consumer purchase with the option of never visiting the dealership. So this is a very important topic that we'll be tackling in the next few months as we finalize the book. So the question is, what keeps you up at night? Well, everyone is a little different. Obviously, there's things. Our margins are shrinking. Competition is increasing. Even recently, some of the trade war stuff between our two great countries has created some friction. And what I want to help everyone here today is to realize that, well, I want you to leave here today with some concrete ways in which you can improve your business to use disruption as a competitive edge. One of the questions is who controls the sale? Now, it's going to vary. The OEMs are very concerned about controlling the sale. The dealer is concerned about controlling the sale. The third-party classifieds like AutoTrader is concerned. Imagine a day where every manufacturer required their dealers to use a different digital retailing solution. Could you imagine that chaos when someone comes to Trader Canada and there's a button that says buy now, but depending on the brand, the whole workflow is completely different? Do you think that's going to confuse today's consumer? So there's a lot of issues here that we need to discuss. And today I want to focus on this idea of marketing mix. Has anybody found the perfect marketing mix? We could just simplify our morning. Would you agree with me that you know you're spending money on things that are not really working to sell more cars, you just don't know which ones they are? Is that true? Anybody? We have a few honest people in the room. Thank you. Isn't it also true if you're a dealership manager, you get all these reports from the agencies, you look at them, stare at them, but you're not really sure what you're supposed to do with them? I mean, here's a test. Think of all the marketing reports you get and how many of those reports have actionable data. Meaning, after reviewing them, you do something about it to improve the outcomes. Most marketing reports have no actionable data, so I want to talk about how you could be gaining a competitive edge by using your data in new ways to actually disrupt what you might think is a flat or declining sales environment. How many of you want more leads? Leads? Want more leads? I'm a drug dealer. Here we go. I'm selling leads. We'll be selling them out in the garage later. We want leads. It's a very interesting thing. I want to talk about why this is a little nutty. Leads are down. So why are leads down? This is part of the audience participation section. Why are leads down? Go ahead. Okay, lack of transparency, meaning possibly poor experiences when they previously filled out a lead form didn't really turn out to be a positive experience. Okay. Right. Right. I can't give you that price, but it is really special. Please come in. Why else are leads down? Go ahead. Noisy, but there's something even so simple. Go ahead. Well, don't you agree over the years the amount of research that's available, but even on your own websites, some of you with no hair or gray hair remember the day that you would fire somebody if they gave a price over the phone. Isn't that true? If you heard a new salesperson give a price over the phone, they'd be fired or disciplined. Labor laws are a little more protective here in Canada. Today, you probably remember the day when every dealer website just said call for price. Today, we have MSRP, rebates, dealer cash, even first pencil tools right on the website. Leads are down because our business has been transformed and disrupted to force dealers and the manufacturers to be more transparent on price. So those basic questions on how much the car is, or are there rebates available, or what's approximate my monthly payment, those things are being answered online. So the question is, we still need people to raise their hand and ask for help. So how do we increase those leads? It's not what most of you think. Most of you want more leads, but you haven't thought about why the leads are down and how to get more. And very simply, it's because you have no tools to measure the quality of traffic you're sending to your website. Think about that. One of the reasons why you're not selling as many cars is because no one told you that audience quality is directly related to how many cars you sell. More is not better. So if I'm asking you to rethink about audience and traffic quality, what should you be focusing on? Now, over the years, there's been lots of different KPIs. Oh, are your VDP views up? Anybody says, we look at VDP views? But that's a tricky thing, isn't it? If I'm an agency that doesn't have a good moral compass, I could just send all the clicks to the VDPs. Wouldn't your VDPs go up? Has nothing to do whether the consumer wanted to be on that VDP, or bounce rate, or cost per click. What's a good cost per click? Do you understand? Most of the marketing reports that dealers get have all of these metrics. None of them are actionable, and none of them inspect quality. Thought about that? How many impressions you have? Not quality. Cost per click, click-through rate, not quality. How many VDP views, new or used? Not quality. And what I want to twist your mind a little bit is when you realize you've never been measuring quality, that's how you're going to sell more cars. Here's a simple example. There's a dealer I just picked at random. There's their VDP on Trader, and there's the VDP on their website. Where would you rather have the consumer? How many of you say, on my website? What if I told you that may not be the right choice? You would challenge me and say, no, I want them on my website. So what you've done is believe that you could get an engaged shopper to your website. Isn't that what Google told you? Buy some keywords, invest in SEO, throw some videos on YouTube, and you will get in-market shoppers to your website. The truth of the matter is when you look at engagement, photo engagement rate specifically, the average dealer in the US and Canada, very similar markets, when you look at the total people that look at a VDP on your website, around 15% of those people look at photos. Look at the engagement on Trader Canada. So you have over 60% of the consumers, when they get to a VDP, engage with the photos. Do you think looking at photos is an important metric? You've never thought about this before, but listen how insane we've gotten. How many of you are spending money to promote your used cars? Used cars? On Google, right? Mostly Google, maybe some Facebook. Think about this. Used cars are one of one. Would somebody on a regular basis, out of all the used cars you sell, just look at the car in the lot, pick it, point it, and buy it. No. They open the doors. They check the leather. They check if it was a smoking car. They lift the hood. They look at the trunk. They inspect the car. Wouldn't you agree that if you could have 1,000 people come to your website and 60% of those looked at photos versus 1,000 people on your website and only 15% looked at photos, which source would sell you more cars? The one with the higher audience quality. And so it's very interesting that Google themselves has not created any rules in the automotive industry to allow you to inspect the quality of traffic that's coming to your website through advertising. Facebook too. So what we need to do is rethink this idea of how to sell more cars in a digital age. One of the things you may not want to hear is third-party classifieds are very efficient in bringing an in-market shopper to your VDPs. You are twice as bad of the worst classified site. The worst classified site. The best classified site, you're 3 or 4 times more expensive to get an engaged shopper to your own website. And here's the reason why. When you listen to your AdWords calls, what do you find a lot of? Anybody listen to the phone calls generated by AdWords? That's an important task, inspecting quality. Do you know that if you're running, let's just say, $5,000 or $10,000 a month on AdWords, listen to me carefully, for new and used car campaigns, the #1 channel in which consumers convert is what? What's the highest conversion channel for Google AdWords? Channel. So lead forms, phone call, chats, or text. Phone calls. You should know this. When you listen to the phone calls, less than 15% of those phone calls are for buying a new or used car. Let me say that again. Less than 15% of AdWords phone calls on ads that are promoting a new or used car are actually for that. Meaning, Google has somewhat pulled a little game and said, look, it's so easy. You just buy these keywords, use Toyota Camry, send it to an SRP or a VDP. Man, you're going to sell more cars. When you listen, there's like, hey, is Bob there? I want to see if he wants to come out to the beer pong tournament tonight. Or you listen, hey, I'm calling from the American Cancer Society, and we'd like a donation. Hold on, you just clicked on my $5 ad, and now you're calling me asking for more money? It's happening all the time. What I want to encourage you, and those of you who are here today will have a competitive edge when you leave here if you pivot from looking at quantity metrics and start focusing on quality metrics. So when you think of all the metrics that you're overloaded with, I will tell you that most of the metrics that you're looking at, trying to determine if your marketing is working, is all quantity, not quality. So what we need to do is figure out how do we get quality metrics. Now, in 2006, we defined what those quality metrics are for the automotive industry, and these are those metrics. For the first time, dealers can find out if their marketing is bringing an engaged shopper. I already told you about the photo engagement, right? You agree with me that if you spend $10,000 and 10% of the traffic looked at photos, or you could go to another agency and you spent $10,000 and you got 40% photo engagement, who would be selling more cars for you? The one that brought more people who acted like a shopper. Do you understand? Do you understand? How about this one? You put these widgets on your website, finance form, I don't know, so many different forms. Is anybody ever counting how many people click on the Get E-Price and complete it? How many people click on your trade-in button and complete it? That's the form completion rate. You know, in the US, the #1 trade-in tool that's on dealership websites has a form completion rate of under 5%. That means 95% of the people who click on Value My Trade never complete it because the tool is so, well, demanding and encumbering. Where other trade-in tools have a form completion rate of 30, 40%. For you, you know what that means? That's a difference between 30 trade-in leads a month and 300. I don't know if you want more trade-in leads. I would. But if you're not measuring the tools on your website with quality metrics, you can't do it. So what am I specifically talking about? I'm talking about understanding that in every business, of our scale, meaning multi-billion-dollar industries, everyone checks what's going on their website, except automotive. Most dealers are not tracking what people are doing on their website. You're just asking for leads. Leads is the end product of your traffic. It's the end product. So what we need to do is understand that asking for more leads is like being a farmer coming up to the tree and saying, man, this tree, it gave me 500 apples. And the farmer talks to the tree and says, I need another 500. And the farmer just waits. I need more. And the tree doesn't produce more. If you wanted more apples, wouldn't you make sure that you were fertilizing? Weren't you making sure you're getting enough water? You're asking for more leads, but you're not inspecting what you're getting. You have no clue that some of the things you're paying for is absolutely garbage traffic, and now it makes sense because you're saying, shit, I've never inspected quality. I've been looking at clicks and click-through rate and cost per click on time on site, a number of pages, which has nothing to do with quality. What you should be saying is what percentage of those people were engaged to do things like a shopper would do, like look at photos, click on the trade-in button, use the payment calculator. You don't have that data today. Most dealers don't. As a result, you're flying blind because the majority of consumers that come to your website will not convert. In the US, here's some stats. 1 to 2% of all people who come to the dealer's website will submit a lead form. 3 to 6 or 7% will make a phone call. 0.5% to 1% will chat or text. That means 90% of all the people that come to your websites do not convert to what you're asking for, which is the output of a lead. Wouldn't it make sense if you looked at the 100% and said, how do I get more traffic to my website that does things that shoppers do? Do you think you'll get more leads then? Meaning, if you're spending $5,000 on this channel and you see, man, the engagement on my website for the things that shoppers do is really low. Let me move that $5,000 to this channel that's bringing really engaged traffic. Do you think you'll sell more cars? You better figure that out quickly, because that is how you sell more cars. You need to rethink about how you're measuring. You need to measure the 100%, not wait for leads. When you balance quantity with quality, lights go on, and for the first time, you'll be able to, rank your marketing channels on cost per sales opportunity. Please don't look at conversions anymore. Conversions mean nothing. Here's the reason why. If you're any new or used car managers here in the room, thank you. You look very serious. Are you a new or used car manager? Yeah, I can tell. That's why. Now, you have no problem of being a team player, right? Okay. But if you were given $10,000 a month to sell more used cars, and you had some input on where that was spent, in your mind, aren't you thinking that $10,000 is going to help me hit my goal, which will help me hit my pay plan, right? But what if I told you over $5,000 of that $10,000 is helping the service drive? What would you say? I'm a little concerned, but this is what's happening because his report only shows conversions. How many phone calls came in, how many lead forms, maybe chats and texts. Not what those conversions were for. So you spend money hoping to hit your pay plan, and of course you're part of the team, and people say, well, Brian, listen, a phone call is not bad for service. You're absolutely right, but it's out of his budget, meaning it doesn't help him hit his goal. And what it does is it creates this false impression that things are working. So what am I specifically talking about? You need to know which actions consumers are taking on your website. If you had 5,000 people come to your website, listen to me very carefully, and no one clicked on the trade-in button or no one clicked in the payment calculator, what was that traffic? Crappy, most likely bot traffic. Just crap that's chewing up your ad dollars, that's not bringing a consumer to engage. The question is, are you going to unlock your data? Are you going to really see that in order to remain competitive, you need to use your own data. So what am I talking about? Used car example. Wouldn't it, and what's your name? Fred? Fred. Okay, so Fred, if you spend $10,000 right now, at best, you're getting how many clicks, cost per click, time on site, number of page views, number of VDP views, all quantity. Wouldn't you want to know what percent looked at photos? What percent clicked on the car proof? What percent hit the trade-in? You with me? Because if it was really low, and there's benchmarks for this, you would start to say, man, some of these campaigns are rocking and some of these really suck. You stop the things that aren't working, move the funds to the things that are working, you'll sell more cars. But you don't have those metrics yet to allow you to use quality to determine the next best step. Same thing here. Conquest email marketing, which is a scam in most situations. And I've done a lot of research on this. I've seen 10,000 people come to a dealer's website and do nothing that a shopper would do. And dealers are told, hey, I'm going to guarantee you're going to sell 35 cars over the next 60 days. And it's only going to cost you $5,000 a month. And what are you going to do? I'm going to send out 300,000 emails. And they look at Google Analytics like, wow, man, we got 5,000 people today. Hey, we got another 10,000 people. They're not real people. But you don't see it because you're not measuring what people are doing on the website. Now you say, Brian, does this happen a lot? I still anticipate that dealers are spending millions of dollars per month in between the US and Canada on email marketing scams, even though I've exposed a lot of them. The bottom line is you've been using the wrong tools to measure your marketing, and that's why it's important. You've been using Google Analytics, which only can see what's going on in your website, or your CRM. Now, the CRM is the most abused tool for dealers, the most abused when it comes to marketing. Let me explain. When you set up Google Analytics properly, you get a lot of insights. But I would give $100 to every person in this room that you could open up your Google Analytics and show me that the 4 conversion channels on your website are working in GA. I'll give you $100 per person. If you could open up Google Analytics and show me on your website you're tracking phone call conversions, lead forms, chats, and texts. But you need it to even measure basic marketing ROI, and then I'm talking about the engagement tracking as well. The biggest problem that is here is something called CRM, lead performance reports. How many of you get some type of report that looks at all the lead sources and how many cars you sold per source? How many? Please stop using that report. That is a complete deceptive report. The CRM was never designed to help you market better. Let me explain. Walk-ins and website leads. Wouldn't you agree the 2 largest categories in your CRM are walk-ins and website leads? Yes or no? And then you have these other people. These other people come in through what we call an ADF, or a lead format, and those get populated. The truth of the matter is that the majority of all the leads in your CRM fall in those 2 categories, and they are really a result of all your marketing. Because listen, your website isn't telling your CRM where that traffic came from. Oh, that was a Facebook ad. Oh, Facebook ad, great. Website lead. Oh, that was a Google ad. Oh, website lead. You with me? So when you look at the CRM lead performance reports as a marketing tool, you're totally get misled. The truth of the matter is that if you are using your CRM as a lead performance measurement tool, you are doing like this cartoon. This is a pretty funny cartoon, but this is you. If you're using your CRM to try to improve your marketing, you see a sneaker advertisement comes in the mail. Then you walk downtown, you see the billboard. Then you're online, you're doing a little bit more research. Hey, you hear about that Nike sneaker. Okay, and then you sit down and boom, there's a Nike ad. And so that you pick up the phone, order it, and the marketing department, i.e. at the dealership says, let's cancel everything and just put 100% into mobile marketing. That's what's happening today if you're using your CRM to inspect your marketing outcomes. It was never made for that. What happens when you set up Google Analytics properly with all 4 conversion channels, you could start to see something in the screen that's a little off, assisted conversions and last click conversions. This is a huge eye-opener. You can look at the traffic that comes from Trader.ca and converts when they visit, clicking on the link, or if they come back later and convert. But here's one thing that's really amazing. When you start using Google Analytics properly, you'll understand that your CRM was so off. There are some marketing channels that bring a consumer in early and they convert later, but you never see that. So you may be saying, I'm not getting enough leads from this source, and here's the only thing you're saying. I'm demanding that consumer, when they click on the ad, they have to convert there. That's what you're saying. When you say, I'm going to cancel a marketing channel because I didn't get enough leads, you're saying that you have total control over the consumer's thinking and behavior, that when they clicked on the ad, they had to convert, they had to call, they had to fit lead form. It's retarded to say that. Like, no logical person would say that. But that's what you're saying when you look at your CRM report. That's why you need to look at Google Analytics properly. And one of the things you're going to find out is that the engagement on third-party portals is significantly higher than your own website. And here's the reason why. Because Google and others lied to you that it's so easy to get an in-market shopper to your website. And number 2, you didn't know that at least half of the traffic that you're paying for today is horrible traffic because you never had quality metrics. It's an eye-opener. It's an eye-opener when you start to really see engagement on third parties. And why? Because people don't go to third parties like Trader to service their car. They go to your website, click on your paid ad to service their car. People don't go to Trader Canada to call their buddy about the beer pong tournament, but they go to your website by clicking on your ad and calling Bob about the beer pong tournament. That's what's happening. So, what we need to understand, that as we advertise, very few people actually click directly on an advertisement, and if you're tracking Google Analytics properly, records as a conversion. But the majority of people come back later, and when analytics is set up properly, you can see this influence very clearly. The problem is most of you don't have it. So how do you gain a competitive edge? Here's your action plan. Number 1, make sure all 4 conversion channels are working on your website. Number 2, make sure you start looking at last click conversions and assisted conversions by channel. Your Facebook campaigns, your third-party classifieds, your direct mail, your social media. And work to get consumer engagement measurement on your website. Otherwise, you have no ability to track quality. How does it work? There's something called a Google Tag Manager container. It sits on every page in your website. In that container, you put some scripts. Those scripts track what people did on your website, and those scripts send those events to Google. So that from your Adwords campaign, hey, how many people looked at photos? How many people clicked on the trade-in button? How many people did the payment calculator? I don't know about you, but I'm hoping the wheels are turning and saying, that makes complete sense. But you never knew you could ask for that data. When you look at consumer engagement, one thing is clear, is that it's not as easy to get an engaged shopper to your website. There are dealers, well, I speak at 20 groups all the time, and they're like, Brian, if I do really good with my Facebook campaigns and AdWords campaigns and SEO, can I cancel all third-party classifieds? Have you ever thought that? You can be honest. Did you ever have that idea? If I could really get my, okay? And it's really a suicidal decision because most dealers don't know that their cost, listen, their cost to get an engaged shopper to a VDP is multiple factors higher than what you're paying on Trader, and I'll show that to you in a minute. You can do the math. So what I want you to rethink is your marketing plan. How are we doing on time in the back? 15? You guys want some more? Or should we just stop right here and not get to the real meat? Meat, we want the meat. Okay, I got the thumbs up in the back. When I talk to dealers about their marketing, today it's about the 10-to-1 ratio. So if they're spending $10,000 on AdWords, they're spending about $1,000 on Facebook. And it's a little off balance because, as I already mentioned, when people are clicking on your ads, even though they say $2.99 a month, Ford, Focus, whatever, they're calling for service, or they're calling for the charity, or they're calling to see if their plates are ready. Less than 15% of AdWords phone calls are for the intended campaign. Now, listen, I've written about this a lot, and people will challenge me occasionally because, they're getting paid by Google, and they would be like, well, Brian, okay, that's the truth, but dealers want more phone calls and service is profitable. I'm like, absolutely, but it's not working for him. It's not working for the used car manager, the new car manager, the dealer who's trying to hit his bogey, to hit the cars so he gets that bonus money. That's not helping him or her because they need to move a certain number of vehicles. Yes, service is good, but we need to change our thinking. This was a dealer group that spent about $1 million on Google AdWords, and they generated 6,067 phone calls, and you could see 11% were for the intended campaign. Now, I'm not saying don't advertise on AdWords. I'm saying that if you want to sell more cars and hit your goals, you better inspect the outcomes of your campaigns and not counting conversions. How does that look? Here's a perfect example. Let's just say that you're running AdWords and, obviously this is a Ford dealer. Most of your reports from your AdWords agency will be conversions, conversions, conversions. And let's just say, for this conversation, there was 386 conversions. Would there anybody in this room think, well, listen, I want my BDC to close 15%, so I'm going to take my run-through report, I'm going to multiply that by 15%, and I'm going to tell the BDC they better sell that many cars. Has anybody been guilty of that? Thank you. No one would raise their hand, but we had a couple heads shaking. The reason why BDCs get beat up a lot is because the marketing reports that the dealer principal gets are lying about sales opportunities. This is the truth. For that 386, there was probably only 140 actual sales opportunities. The right number would be 15% of the 140. Do you understand that's a completely different business model? Meaning, if you think about this, every dealer in this room has a goal on how many units you want to sell. You have to stop looking at conversions or leads. You have to look at outcomes. How many at-bats did I get this month from my marketing dollars? Not how many conversions, because those conversions, most of you in this room are probably spending 90% or more of your Google AdWords budget on car sales, not service. And no one ever really showed you that at least half of those conversions had nothing. Half of the total conversions had nothing to do with sales. And the reason that you've had no granularity on how to get better than your competition is because you don't have quality measurement. You're not tracking what consumers are doing on your website. Let's see where we're. Oh, is that? Oh, that should be right. Okay. So here's an example of one dealer, and I actually know this dealer, and they spent $24,000 in 1 month, and they got so many leads. You can see that up there. So many phone calls, chats, texts, and lead forms. And 14% of the people who went to this website engaged somehow with the photo gallery. Let's do the math. Because I don't know if you've done this math, but it's kind of scary, but I'm giving you some tools, and you can have a copy of the deck. This is what the dealer got for $24,000. Now, some of you wouldn't even know how many chats or text messages you got. So that was $109 per conversion. Now, only 15% of AdWords phone calls are for sales opportunities as a national average in the US. There was 22 opportunities in the phone channel, 18 chats, 27 and 11. Look at that. They only had 78 opportunities to sell a car. By the way, the whole $24,000 was to sell cars. That's $315 per conversion of a sales opportunity. Can you afford to pack $3,000 of advertising into one advertising channel to sell a particular car? You would say, impossible, right? You can't make money that way, right? I bet $500,000 I can find someone in the room that's spending $300 per sales opportunity and spending over $1,500 to $2,000 per car because they never looked at their conversion outcomes. Let's take a look at some other examples. Display campaigns. This dealer was spending about $1,600 on display. Look at that. 1.47% of the people looked at photos. I don't know about you, but if I'm paying for that, if I'm trying to hit my bogey on number of units, you're saying, oh, this display campaign is working great. Why? Oh, the click-through rate is this, and the cost per click is this. And you're like, oh, I guess I'm stupid. Keep on spending. But now you would have a metric that says, no, Pash told me that the PER should be at least 15% or higher for AdWords. If you're at 1.5%, that quality is horrible. Same thing. This is what they got, and when you do the math, it's pretty scary. To sell a particular car on this display campaign. So Google AdWords is now called Google Ads, and the truth of the matter is, and I'm not going to read all these points, you can read them faster than me, but Google really has never cared about how many cars you sold. They just told you a story that if you buy a keyword, you can get into a consumer's head, you take them to the right landing page, and you'll sell more cars. This is the theory. Does anybody in this room think a consumer would have a hard time finding your website if they knew your name? Anybody? Right? So if you were ABC Honda, you think they would have a hard time getting? So the question is how do we then get our message on why someone should do business with us this month out there? It's a very interesting conversation. This is a Canadian dealer. Google Analytics and AdWords wasn't even connected. So again, Google doesn't care if their agency partners are following best practice. This dealer has no ability to inspect quality because their AdWords and analytics weren't connected at all. So I estimate from looking at Canadian dealers over the years, about 80% of you don't have analytics set up properly to inspect quality. And that's really a really dangerous thing. How about this? Some of you are using agencies that are doing VIN-based advertising, right? They look at your in, oh, it's a VIN, it's a 2008 Ford F-150, let's put up an ad. Okay, so here's a dealer who was spending some money, 16 grand over about 7 weeks. And they had all sorts of really, man, look at these campaigns. They're broken out by model and make, and they're super efficient. That's what they thought. The number one place that this agency was sending people was to the SRP. And 80% of those people, when they got to the SRP, never went to another page. I call this the single keyword fallacy. I have a podcast I released a couple weeks ago on this. When you look at Google's theory that if you buy used Toyota Camry and take that person to a used Toyota Camry SRP, that was the right choice, the data often screams something different. Meaning it's almost impossible in my mind to establish intent based on a single keyword. Where should those people be taken? I know it's not going to sound right to you. I'd rather take them to the homepage. Because your websites are so simple today. People can get to the vehicles that they want. Why are you guessing what they want? The data is showing me we're guessing horribly wrong. Here's another example that, that same campaign, they had 32 conversions. How was the math? Let's go through it. There's the math. Whoop. $1,700 per retail sale. This is a Canadian dealer spending $15,000 a month. Their number one landing page is an SRP, 71% drop off. Let's just be clear what that means. You spent money to buy a keyword and put an ad that you believe is the right ad for that keyword, and when someone clicked, you took them to an SRP and 71% said, I don't need to go anywhere else. This is the type of data that shows you that people are clicking on your ads to call for service, call their buddies, just see things that are not what's going to help our sell new cars or used cars. The truth of the matter is most of Google conversions are off-branded campaigns. And here's an example of a dealer where their Google My Business, which is organic, and their branded campaign generated 108 of the 116 conversions for the entire month. And, well, when you find out what's really happening, it's going to be scary at first, and then you're going to be able to fix it if you have a desire to truly revolutionize your marketing mix. The truth of the matter is it's very difficult for you to attract in-market shoppers. But you can if you measure quality. Meaning there is a limit to what Google can do to get you to sell more new or used cars. Service calls, easy as hell. Just, buy some ads, your service phones will ring. But to sell new cars or used cars, it's very, very difficult. We have to avoid this binging mentality. How many of you said, man, we got to sell more cars this month. Let's double our Google AdWords budget. But what I'm going to tell you, in your AdWords budget, 30 to 40% of the campaigns that you're running are very inefficient. And instead of spending more, if you had the metrics to measure quality, you would see the poor performing campaigns, the ones that are bringing low engagement traffic to your website, and that would solve the problem. So you need to document your AdWords cost per sale, and then use that data to try to see what's the ideal marketing mix. The ideal marketing mix is how you prioritize your business based on a cost per sales opportunity. You should be looking at your Facebook campaigns, what's my cost per sales opportunity, not conversion. You understand the difference now? Meaning, conversions is misleading. What was the phone call for? What was the lead form for? You with me? Once you prioritize your business by saying data is important, I'm going to get my analytics set up properly to measure conversions. I'm going to measure what people are doing on my website, and then I'm going to look at my cost per sales opportunity. And then I'm going to prioritize the channels that give me the most engaged traffic. As you increase engagement, you get more leads. Go back to the apple tree. You want more leads? And you should want them. Increase the quality of traffic to your website. You say, Brian, how do you do that? You have to measure what people are doing on your website to inspect the theories of your agency partners, your internal team, on their ability to bring an engaged shopper to their website. Does that make sense? Yes? Does anybody not believe that? Anybody believe that Google's perfect and wouldn't want to just take your money because they can? And I'm not picking on Google. I'm a Google certified partner. That's not the point. The bottom line is that we need to find the right marketing mix. I will close with this. Some of you who may have thought at one time, I want to cancel all third-party classifieds because I could do a better job. Let me just end on this one challenge. Take your marketing budget and remove all third-party classifieds completely. So, okay, Brian, we're spending $40,000 a month, $10,000 on third-party classifieds. Great. Take the $10,000. You're spending $30,000 a month to drive people to your website. Wouldn't that make sense? Because the third-party classifieds, you're paying really for their audience. $30,000. Divide the $30,000 by the number of VDP views you get per month on your own website. Now for Trader Canada, that number is like 30-something cents, average new and used VDP. I bet your average cost to get a VDP view on your website will be 300 to 600% higher. And then here's the kicker. If you're measuring engagement, the real metric is cost per engaged VDP view. With me? Not the cost to get someone to hit a VDP. It could be not the page that they wanted. But what's the cost to get an engaged person? Someone who came to a VDP and actually did something important, looked at the trade tool, looked at the payment calculator, looked at photos. With that challenge, some of you are going to say, well, listen, I can do a better job than anyone. Okay, great. If you're competitive like that, here's what you got to do. Don't cancel third-party classifieds unless you want to generate extremely high-quality audience from your marketing dollars. For most of you, you've been misled and you've not been able to inspect it. So yes, there's a limited amount of money you have, and you have to decide where to put it. But until you start getting serious about your own data on your own website and knowing what your cost per sales opportunity is from your own marketing dollars, it would be ridiculous to cancel listing on third-party classifieds that have significantly higher engagement than you could ever generate on your own. It's not maybe what you wanted to hear, but it makes complete sense because we use Amazon for a reason. Or at least I do. Everything's there, it's simple, and I'm going to get a decent price. People use third-party classifieds as the Amazon of car shopping. That's what they do. So it's a balance of generating your own awareness and using good partners to sell more cars in the digital age. We'll make sure you have a copy of the deck. I really want to thank you for your time today, and I think we're going to turn it back up for a little Q&A. So thank you very much.